everyone, Baker on the Dark Side. So here we are. I'm going to be making my favorite pie dough today. My husband doesn't like chocolate, but he does like molasses and ginger, and you know that Valentine's Day is coming. So I found a recipe in an old church book for shoe fly pie. It's kind of a molasses pie. Today I'm just doing the crust, just to get it out of the way. So this is a crust that works every time. I guarantee you this is the best pie crust you'll ever have. I am going to use it. I'm going to put it in this trusty pie tin, and I'm going to wrap it and freeze it, and then I'll use it later. Or you can put it in the refrigerator. It's very versatile. It's it's pie dough, so pie dough is pretty versatile. So in the bakery, we always had specific flours that we used for making pie dough or pastries. There is a pastry flour. You can go out and buy it, but the trusty all-purpose flour kind of does everything. But there are specialized flours that you can use that does make it better, so to speak. So pastry flour would be that flour if you wanted to really use something specific. Just like bread flour is for, bread dough. So I'm gonna use all-purpose. I'm gonna be bad, I'm gonna use all-purpose. So what I do is I measure my ingredients for the primary things. So we have 12 ounces of flour is gonna make this crust. So I'm gonna measure that out. I've got my scale here. This makes might make 1 or 2 actually. It's been a long time since I've done this actually. I don't make a lot of pie. I'm not a pie person. I do like pecan pie, as you all know, but I don't usually make a lot of pie. So I'm almost there. It's taking me longer than I thought. 12 ounces is a lot of flour. All right, I'm almost there. We're getting there. Oh, now I went over. It's like, okay, now we're there. I don't think it has to be that exact, but 12 ounces of flour. You're gonna use my food processor. Food processor is absolutely the best when you're doing this. It'll cut in everything really well. All right, I have to keep my butter and my shortening cold. So I put them in there and kept them cold. It's very, very important to keep your fat really cold. So my secret here is that I am going to use half butter, and my secret ingredient that I learned a long time ago is to use lard. Yes, lard might not be the best for your heart, but it is actually better than it used to be, because it used to be full-on saturated fat, but there's no trans fats there, so that's nice. They took out the trans fats, but they do still make lard. It is in the butter section if you've never noticed. So my recipe calls for 3 ounces of shortening and 3 ounces of butter. The reason I use both is the shortening is gonna make that flakiness, for sure. Gonna make that flakiness. Let me use a piece of this. And I always put like a little bit of wax paper on my scale. All right, so 3 ounces. All right, I'm gonna try to judge this as best I can here. Oh, 2 5/8. I was so close. So close. 2 3/4. 3 ounces. All right, so there's my 3 ounces of the shortening. Okay, so now what I usually use is a grater. The grater is gonna make it so much easier to implement into the dough. I'll let those 2 fall in there. So I'm gonna just grate it over the top. So you're grating it. This is my secret. Lard. Doesn't even sound good, right? That's just like a terrible name, right? Who the heck made that? All right, and then I need 3 ounces of the butter. Now this is 4 ounces, so I don't have to take too much off it. And I'm just gonna keep it on the paper here. and try to gauge what I think an ounce would be. All right, let's see how close I get. Oh, 3 ounces, right on the mark. Okay, so now I'm going to grate this butter. I'm trying not to get my hands to warm it up too much. Like I said, you want this to be cold. Oops, whoopsie. The butter is slippery. I told you, no editing, right? Not much editing. Sometimes I edit out the boring, slow parts, but I'll leave that in. That was funny. Okay. All right, I'm talking to myself. All right, here we go. Now my butter's in there. All right. And just kind of make sure it's not in the middle. Okay. So there's that. Now, we need to add just a dash of salt. Not a lot. Well, I'm not big and crazy about salt. So, you know, light salt, you know. So it's usually like a teaspoon, maybe a little less. I try not to add too much salt either to things. All right, so all of that, all of my main components are in here. So, put it in the food processor and you pulse it. And you're cutting that butter and that lard together. Oh, I remember in the old days when I used to have to do this by hand. Not fun. You don't want to go too crazy because, as you can see, the flour is coming out. And you want to make sure that that shortening, that lard, that butter is in there. Now I want you to see that. Look at that. You see that? Look how easy that was. And it's all in there, right? Okay. So now the fun begins. So I have put cold water in here. And I have put an ice cube in. Because it's very important to have ice cold water. Very cold water. And it is still cold. So 1/4 cup. It may be more, it may be less. We'll see. All right, so I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna run it through the feeding tube. It's not gonna take long. Until it makes it into a dough. There you go. All right. It is a dough. Now, the tricky part, getting it out of here. All right, there you go. That wasn't too bad. That came right together. All right. So, my dough is in here. I'm just gonna kind of pull it together. Now, I am using my trusty mat. Love my trusty mat. This is the easiest thing to have this mat. Now, I'm gonna add a couple more drops of water. I can tell it's just a tad dry, not much though, so just add a few drops. Just to kind of pull it back together. Not a lot, you don't want it to be too moist, but I do want to make sure that it picks up all these pieces. I don't want to overwork it. You don't want to overwork your pie dough either, because when you do, it becomes very tough. Okay, so we're just gonna make sure we're working that moisture in. All right. Alrighty. This makes it looks like it would make a 10-inch. It might be a little too thick, maybe a little bit too much. I might cut off a little bit. This seems like a lot for this pie dough, so that's okay. I just cut off a little bit. Oh, my ulu. Got this from Alaska. Okay. On my honeymoon. All right. Chai tea and the ulu. I hope I said that right. It's been a long time. Okay, so I'm gonna put the flour on this plastic silicone sheet. The lifesaver of all women. Okay, and I'm going to flour my rolling pin. All right, I'm gonna roll it out. Like I said, don't make a lot of pies, I have made a lot of pies in the past. Now, did I chill it first? No, I did not chill it first. What have I told you? Bakers do not chill the dough first. They have a lot to make in a very short time. They don't have time to wait an hour or so for their pie dough to chill. Now, you don't want to bake it without chilling it. So what have I always said to you? Do the work first, make it easy on yourself. If you chilled this thing, it's going to take you longer to roll it out. All right, I have tons of pie tins, just do. I also always try to recycle. So if I buy pie at the store or a bakery, then I save the tin, you know, because that's just my way of helping the planet. All right, I just wanted to make sure it was good. So I am going to roll this baby up now. Rolling it. Rolling it up. Putting it over the top. Okay. And then I'm going to very nicely, very lightly place it in here. Don't freak out. It's way too big. I think this actually made 2. I'm going to say that this actually makes 2 and not just 1 crust. So this should be big enough to make a 2-crust pie. I don't need the second crust. Okay, so I got that in there. What I always do is I cut. Take the scissors and I cut around. Not a lot. I still want a little bit to overhang so that I can crimp it. That's the word, crimping. So I'm going to just try to make it all the way around. Okay. So now, there's your pie crust. If you're not going to have a top crust, you're going to fold the excess under. Just like that. Fold it under all the way around. It's going to be really thick. So now I've gone all the way around. And then I usually shore it up. So I'm taking my hand and I'm pressing it between my finger and my hand to make a ridge. And I'll show you that ridge. I just go all the way around until I get that ridge. Okay? Can you see that ridge? So I just did that, just like that. Okay. So now, you can leave it like this if you want. It's okay. If you don't like the crimping, you don't have to crimp it. You can keep it plain. People are still gonna eat it. It's still gonna taste good. But for you who want to make it pretty, then you will take, this is hard to show, but you're gonna take your finger and you're gonna pinch your fingers like that to make your crimp. And you're gonna go around and do it all the way around. That's how easy crimping is. They actually have crimping machines in the bakery. I do not have a crimping machine. I don't make enough pie to warrant a crimping machine. But they do make them. It's very elaborate. And don't worry if it's not perfect, it's fine. It's just if you want to make it pretty, you can. Okay. And there's your crimp. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put it in the freezer for when I want to use it for later. And this is a pie I'll show you later what it's going to be like. It's going to be the shoe fly pie, which is like a molasses crumb pie. It's really interesting. I've never made one. But there you go, my pie dough. And then the scraps, my mother used to do this. She used to keep them like this, just like in these little pieces. And then she used to brush them with butter and cinnamon sugar and have them with coffee and things like that. My grandma also used to like mix it with like Parmesan cheese and cheddar and make cheese straws with them. So just some ideas with your leftover pie crust. I hope you enjoyed this wonderful demonstration. And if you get a chance, subscribe. Baker on the dark side. Well, kind of on the light side, actually.